So with Glory, this year's theme was Jesus and women, right? And so I was turning over in my mind, like, what text could we walk through to kind of highlight this idea of Jesus caring for, providing for, being with, all the things when it comes to women.
Yeah.
And I knew I wanted to do the woman at the well. That's a really obvious. And I love taking texts that people are familiar with and not turning it on its head in terms of heresy, because I think some people can try to find something new in the text and they actually create something new
Yeah.
versus turning it in such a way where it's like, no, that's always been there. We just haven't had the eyes to see it.
Yeah.
That's the way I like to
And by the
approach.
way, that's a very hard thing to do if you're trying to do it by your own strength. I think that people need to be praying when they,
Yes.
because
You have to be trained and developed, because you also need a certain amount of discipline to have biblical interpretation.
Yeah.
Because I've seen where people, they want so bad to find a nugget that they actually read into the text,
Yeah.
and they don't see that the actual simple interpretation is just as powerful.
because what's deep, and this is not to criticize people out there, but I think a lot of times I see people handling a text and I can identify creativity there.
Yeah.
Like, you're a creative person. I can just tell.
Mhm.
The text ain't saying that though.
No,
It's
no,
like
it's
it's
not.
literally not there. Like,
It's not.
but like what you just said was creative.
Yeah.
And so but the text doesn't need your creativity. It needs
Yeah,
the
that was your imagination, not interpretation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just thought that was a good word. Anywho, so a friend of mine said, "What about Hagar in Genesis 16?" I said, "Yeah, no, I ain't touching that."
Why?
Because I knew it was a complicated text. Like you have Hagar, this slave, this concubine who was in the household of Abram, who is made to have his baby, and then she flees the abuse of Sarai, and then she's in the desert, and the angel of the Lord meets her and tells her to go back to Abram's house. And so all of that together, you have infertility, you have barrenness, you have suffering, you have abuse, you have slavery, you have surrogacy. Like, you have so many themes
Yeah.
that land on women in a very particular way.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to touch it. And then I felt like the Lord was like, nah, but you're going to touch it. So I did. And I'm grateful I did.
That's dope.
I'm grateful because, one, I think as a Bible teacher, I think you kind of build your textual muscles by handling text that might be a bit difficult. But I also think it reaffirmed God's goodness and faithfulness.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people, when it comes to passages like these, or like Uzzah in 1 Samuel 6, who touches the ark and drops dead, like those passages that don't sit right with us, we can read them in such a way where we kind of have a cynicism about the Lord because of the text. But I have the disposition that what Jesus has revealed about God must influence how I understand him in texts that complicate me or are complicated. So it's like I presuppose goodness. Like Jesus said to Nicodemus, like, what, like, was it Nicodemus?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do you call me? No, there was a rich young ruler. Like, why do you call
I
me
know what you're
good? Only God is good. So I presuppose goodness in every complicated text. And if you presuppose goodness, you're going to see goodness.